Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. I thank you all for joining us today as we're letting people join in. We'd love to hear where you're joining us from. Hopefully, we can get someone from all the coast, all the time zones. I am your host today. My name is Courtney Pollock. I am the Customer Marketing Coordinator at SWK Technologies, and I'm very excited to welcome you to today's session, Construction Profit Problems. Is your job costing system ready for growth? So as you can see in the chat, I am coming to you from Loveland, Colorado today. I see we've got someone in Texas, so maybe a couple time zones covered there, depending on where you're at in Texas. Today's speaker, will be joining us from Georgia, so I will bring him on in just a moment. But before that, we're just going to dive into just a few housekeeping items, nothing too crazy. So I want to remind everyone that today's session is being recorded. So whether you're here with us live and you want to check it out again later, look back on some certain aspects, or you're watching this recording later on because you weren't able to join, we will send that out to everyone tomorrow afternoon. Also, everyone has been placed on mute to keep background noise to a minimum. That does not mean we do not want to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. You can put questions in the Q&A section at any time, or you can just put them in the chat. I'll find them there, and we'll make sure Philip answers all of those questions at the end of the presentation. And then that is pretty much it for our reminders. So we're going to keep on going. And let me introduce you quickly to today's speaker. So today's speaker is Philip Hancock. He is a solutions architect at SWK Technologies, and we're so excited to have him. I'm going to bring him on stage now. And as we do that, hey, Philip.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good.
Awesome. So as we do that, we're going to kick things off with a quick poll. If you've been on a webinar with me, I love a poll. So we'd love to hear from you. And that poll's asking what features you're most interested in seeing today. So as promised, this is a live session. We are really here. This is not recorded. So let us know what you're interested in seeing. That may change things up a bit. We'll, prioritize and make sure to show that to you today as we dive into Sage 100 Contractor. So love to hear those results. And Philip, I'll let you introduce yourself a bit before we dive in.
All right, thank you. So I'm Philip Hancock. I reside in just outside of Athens, Georgia. I've been in the commercial construction industry now for about 25 years. I've worked with the Sage product, the one I'm about to demonstrate to you today, for about 18 years. And I've helped a lot of companies coming off of a inadequate accounting system that needed better job costing, better estimating, better reporting. Some of the major values I think we see in companies making a switch to a system like this is we're streamlining things. We're able to do more work with less effort. And so we're gonna take you through Sage 100 Contractor today, and hopefully it'll be beneficial for you. And looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Courtney, do I need to? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, let's go and switch over. And it's looking like that change order management is on the lead for us in that poll. So
all right, good deal.
I'll let you take it away.
We'll definitely cover that. So in my experience, I like to kind of start with a demonstration that takes you from the beginning of a project. We'll follow that project all the way through, from estimating to paying bills to looking at budgets to reporting. So we're going to take a project. I've already set one up, just kind of jumping ahead so we don't have as much data to input. But what you're seeing on my screen right now is you're seeing what we call my home and resource tab. So this is a custom dashboard just for me. So if I had a certain report that I wanted to see, if I wanted to come in and let's say I wanted to get a budget report, I could come and actually grab that budget report and I could drag it over and drop it right on my home page tab. So what that allows us to do is for each user that has access to this, it allows them to customize their workflow. So for instance, I'm on my home and resource tab. If I click on projects, we see all the project information here that are related to projects. Same thing with payroll. We also have estimating in this system, which is pretty unique with an accounting program. We're one of the only few systems that has an integrated built-in estimating package. So we'll take a look at that here shortly. But let's touch on a couple of quick reports. So a lot of companies in the commercial space and also in residential, if you're doing any type of residential work, you need to make sure that you're staying profitable. And this is a great report that tells us how profitable we are, how much we're overbilled or underbilled, um, what our gross profit's going to be, what our estimated cost at completion, which is basically our budget. So if we look across here to a project, let's say this first one here, Williams Post Office, I've got about a $500,000 contract. I'm going to build this for about 468. I'm going to have an estimated of 85,000 in profit. I'm 79% complete because I have a cost of 372. I've actually billed 540 for it, and 167 is my income, and I'm actually overbilled by about $1,000. So what that means is I'm actually over billing the for that project versus my cost. I haven't incurred that much cost yet, so I'm actually reaching in there, grabbing a little extra profit before I've had that cost. Which, of course, you want to be overbilled on your projects. Maybe not quite that much, but you don't want to have to finance the cost of that job. So at anytime you want, you can actually run this report and it's live in the system. So let's actually look at, if I were to take this particular report, I just reviewed it, but I can export that to Excel, export it to Word, PDF. I can email it directly out of the system through Outlook or Gmail. I can also schedule that report. So let's say you like that report, say, Philip, that's a great report. I really could use that, and I want to see it every week. So I could say, I want to see that weekly. I want to see it on Friday, and I want to see that every Friday afternoon about 4 o'clock, because I always cut out about an hour early on Friday. So Friday at 4 o'clock, that's going to print out on my HP OfficeJet printer. Okay. Maybe you're not in the office that often. Maybe we'd rather just set that up to email. So pretty much any report in the system, that could be accounting reports, project reports, purchase order reports, subcontract reports, any type of report in here we can automate to notify on a schedule. Okay. Next report we're going to touch on, that was our WIP report or over under report. Next report we're going to touch on is going to be the job status report. So the job status report allows me to drill in to any certain job that I want. So we're going to take, for instance, this Wood Elementary School. And if I wanted to see what are our costs and budgets for this job, and I'm looking by cost code, what you'll see up here at the top is our $2.7 million contract. Then we see all the cost codes here on the left-hand side. With each cost code, we can have 7 different cost types. So the most common are going to be your labor, material, equipment, subcontract. We see our budget. We can have original budget. We can also have current budget, which would include any change orders. We can see our project cost, our total cost, and our percent complete by cost code and cost type. So as I scroll on down, you'll notice I've got more cost codes here. Material, labor, equipment, subcontract. And notice you have some like ceramic tile. We don't self-perform our ceramic tile, so I always subcontract that out. And as we get down to the bottom, we can also group these by labor, material, equipment, and subcontract, and we can actually track that by the percent complete and the cost versus the budget. Okay, again, that's a great report. We may want to set that out on a schedule, send the job cost reports to the project managers each week, and let them know where they stand on their jobs. All right, so let's jump right in. I'm going to come into a takeoff that I've already set up. And that takeoff is the job I created today called Restaurant Remodel. And when I open up Restaurant Remodel, this is going to bring me up to my bid items or my schedule of values. So this is a remodel. We're going to do a little bit of concrete. We're going to reframe some walls, tie in a little electrical, and that should get us done on this job. So when I open up the general requirements, notice I've got part numbers. So we can take an Excel spreadsheet. If you're using Excel today, we can actually import that entire spreadsheet with all your items and parts and build your database right from your spreadsheet. So notice on this project, I've got some job supervisor, and My database says we charge $45 man hour for that. Let's say on this job, we're going to bump that up to 60. I can bump that up to 60 and then recalculate this. And now I've got 7,200 for the 120 hours. Looking on down, I got a building permit, job trailer, temporary power. Here's where I can pull those items from the database. So under general requirements, if I open this up and I say, hey, we also want to put on, let's say, some unskilled labor. And maybe this is a guy that's going to go out and clean up every couple of days, and we just want him to kind of walk the job site, clean it up so that the owners don't get mad. Let's say we're going to have 30 hours on there at $12 an hour. I hit calculate on that, and now I've added this 375 to my estimate. All right, let's move on down. We're going to do some concrete. So let's say we don't self-perform concrete. So I've actually went ahead and put in a subcontractor for concrete at a lump sum. I can also come in and say, you know what, we're also going to need not just a subcontractor for that, but we're also going to need a pump truck. Okay, so we have to pump that concrete in. So I'm going to go ahead and put a concrete pump subcontractor in, and he charges by the cubic yard. Okay, let's say we're going to have the subcontractor laying the concrete says we're going to have about 300 cubic yards. So we're going to calculate that out, and they're going to charge us $3,000 to pump it. Okay, so if that all looks good, I can change the view here, and I'm going to come over to vendors, and I've already got Oliver Concrete doing the actual concrete work, but now I've got to come in and get my pump subcontractor chosen. So here's where we have all of our vendors. This is like a contact database. So if I look at my pump companies, it looks like I've got 2 of them. I'm going to choose Holt Concrete on that and go ahead and save that. All right. So next we're going to come down to wall framing. Okay. So I noticed one of our participants here does some remodel. So I figured it might be helpful to come in and do some wall framing. So if I were to take this wall framing, come down to wall framing, I can come down and find my 2x4s. So here's all my different grades and lengths and specs of 2x4s. And I can choose on a 2x4 here. Here's a better quality 2x4 that I can add to my job. Actually, there we go. So here's a 2x4, and here's my actual part. So let's say I'm going to grab this, and I can, of course, put a quantity in here. I'm going to need 3 of those, and I go ahead and calculate that out. And I think we paid $2.08 a piece for that for each. We can also do it by linear foot. But the value of this system is I've shown you the parts here so far. We can actually come in and build an assembly. So an assembly is a group of items. So if I say, is this an interior wall or an exterior wall? Let's say since it's a remodel, we're just doing the interior wall, and this is going to be a 2x4 by 10 foot tall wall. When I select that, it's going to now calculate how many linear feet of a wall I'm going to build. So I get my tape measure out, I measure from one end of the building to the other, and that's how long our wall is going to be. I can say that's going to be, say, 60 feet. And when I hit calculate, it's going to go ahead and calculate out how many linear feet I need for that 2x4. And of course, it plugs in the cost there as well. And, you know, we can put in our parts, how many studs we need, blocking, how many nails we're going to need for this. And you basically break it down to the lowest common denominator. Per linear foot, how many of these do I need? Okay. And we can calculate that out. And if I go, you know, if you're going 18 on center or 24 on center, it, you know, just depends on what that assembly calculation is. This is actually 16 on center. All right. So we can add all this stuff in and calculate that out. Then, of course, we can come over again, choose our vendors. We can also allow the database to select our vendor. So this also has the ability where we can update this grid, use prices from the database, and I want to use my lowest cost or my preferred vendor. If I say preferred vendor, I got no vendors there. Let's try that one more time with lowest price vendors. See if I get anything on that. And I didn't. I apologize. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, all right, we're going to have to go to the lumber yard and we're going to have to get some lumber, and we're going to go ahead and get Ellis Lumber to supply all of these parts and pieces for us. Okay. And we're also going to need, I'm just going to paste these guys in. I could even have just typed it in like 20. If I know his vendor ID, I can go ahead and choose that vendor. All right, moving on along. I also noticed we may have some electrical companies with us. We also have a possibly a low voltage company with us as well. So we're going to change this over back to assemblies, and we're going to grab a quick, just a very basic electrical assembly. And then we're going to grab a 150 amp service panel. And on this particular remodel, we're going to have 3 of these. Okay. So when I click on 3 of these, I'm going to go ahead and calculate that out, and it's going to put in all those parts and pieces that I need per 150 amp service and panel. Okay. So again, let's see if I've got any vendors for this. I believe I do. So let's do grid, prices from the database, lowest cost vendor. And there we go. We got Neil's Electric Supply. Looks like they've pretty much going to supply everything for us. So I'll go ahead and copy those down. Now we can go in and put Neil Electric Supply for all of these within these parts. So we can have multiple suppliers for these part numbers. And that's now going to let us have some subcontractors here. Okay, so notice at the very bottom, I've got a cost of $43,000 for my entire estimate. I've got $1,600 for overhead, and I can actually put an overhead percentage in there when I set this project up for each bid item. I can also put in a profit. If I want to go ahead and add my 15% profit to it or whatever I want to do, I can add that in there as well. Okay, so let's say we're completed with our project. Now we're ready to send out a proposal. I can come up and say, I want to export a proposal by bid item. Now I've got a proposal ready to email out of the system. And let's say they sign that proposal. Now I want to set up a budget. And now they're ready to move that over to accounting for the budget. Now let's say we want to go ahead and generate and get our purchase orders together. And here's a list of those vendors that I'm using and their dollar amounts and all those parts and pieces I estimated. Now I'm ready to send these purchase orders out. Now I've got that ready to go. And of course, the last is going to be my subcontracts. And I'll go ahead and choose for Holt Concrete Pumping 3,000. I thought I had another one in there. Yeah, Oliver. Let me look at this real quick. And it could be that Oliver is designated as a different quantity, cost, extended price, and vendor. Oliver. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Export, subcontracts by job. Yeah, I've got Holt Concrete. All right. I'll go ahead and send that over. I've got a subcontract ready to go out. And next, I'm going to come over and we're going to look at that budget. So I'm going to open up this budget. I'm going to go to my last budget by clicking on this button here. And that is still in a bid status. I think I know what's going on here. Bear with me 2 seconds. It's a current. It's a restaurant. Nope, that was. Okay. That was job number 239. So let me come back over here to budgets. And yeah, it's right there, 239. And maybe I did not send that budget over. Make sure I got my numbers in there. Yep, I do. And I want to export budget. And it's okay. That's why there's a bid item to phase 0. Line 1 contains a price, but missing a cost code. So one thing I want to show you here is when I look at all of these items, notice that line 2, I think that's the building permit. It's telling me it did not have a cost code. Or was it on this next one? Because all that had cost codes. Yep. Okay. So remember where I couldn't find that Oliver concrete? Here's why. I didn't have all the details defaulted for that vendor to get the right stuff. So this is actually going to be 3,000, and it is a subcontract. And I can also do a task if I wanted. Task is basically a Gantt chart schedule if I wanted that. So now let's try to save that. Now we'll export subcontract by job. And now you see Oliver Concrete. It's already been done, so that's why it wasn't checked. So I'm going to go ahead and export that. Now we have that correct. Now let's redo this budget. Export the budget. And now I've got a good budget. All right. I think we're getting somewhere. So jumping over to the budget, I come over to the budget, and now I've got this budget ready to go. All right. So real quick, I know we're running through some time here. I'm going to come up and take a quick look at this purchase order. So when I open up this purchase order, you'll notice that this Neil Electric Supply is for this for this restaurant remodel. Here's all the parts and pieces that we have on it. I put in my delivery dates and make this an open PO. Go ahead and save that. So now I'm committing this to the job. Now I'm actually ready to email this right out of the system. And when I do that email, an example of the purchase order will look just like this. Okay, so now I've got my project, I've got my vendor, I've got all those parts and pieces and a total price for what we need. And now they've got that, and they'll be shipping those over. Okay, next we'll take a look at the subcontract. Subcontract, I should have 2 subcontracts in here. I've got my Oliver concrete, and then I've also got my Holt concrete pumping, both for this restaurant remodel. If I take this one here, I'll go ahead and make this a current contract. I'd put in all my dates that I need, go ahead and generate this. And now what we're going to see is an example of a subcontract. Okay, there's all the subcontract detail. Now, this is what a consultant built for a customer. We could do the same thing for your proposals, your purchase orders, your change orders, all these forms in here. We can customize these to make them what you want. Okay, all right. So now that we've got that in the system, I'm going to come over and look at a quick a quick invoice. So if I do a quick invoice, and I'll just grab for fun, I'll grab a subcontract from Oliver, and it's letting me know their insurance is not up to date. That's good to know. I'll come in here and say we want to go ahead and bill 25% of that. I could also just type in 6,800 if I want. And then once I do that, it's now going to come in and job cost that. Okay. Next invoice, I want to come in, say this is for a purchase order. And if I come in and say, okay, well, what purchase order was this? This was it was the electric purchase order. And so now I can go and match up. This is basically everything I ordered for the prices I ordered them for. My invoice should read $707. Let's say it doesn't. So they didn't send us any of those. They also didn't send us any of this thin wire. And they also left out the ground clamp on one of them, but they did send us 2. Okay. If all that looks good, I can go ahead and job cost that. The next time I get an invoice for that PO, it's only going to allow me to receive what I haven't received yet. All those other items that I just received are going to be gone. Okay. All right. The reason I do that is that now I'm going to come back over. We're going to take a quick look at this. I'm sorry. Did I click on change orders? Oh, here we go. I know that was an important topic here. So I'm going to jump over here into change orders real quick. And we're going to come and find a change order for adding some more concrete to a sidewalk. Okay. This tab here that says prime change details. This is actually going back to the prime contract. This is what I'm going to make on this job. Okay. So I'm requesting $3,500 for the extra concrete. And then I've also got an estimate of $2,600 because I can now hire my sub to do that, and whoever that subcontractor is who's given me a price, then I can now have two sides of that change order. I've got the prime side and I got the cost side. Okay. Another good example of that, I'll go ahead and back up to one here. Here's one that's for some tile upgrade. Okay. So I'm requesting $1,100. Once I put this $1,100 into approved, and I come up here and I mark it approved, and I go ahead and save that, now it's going to actually be associated with the prime contract, as well as updating my budget and updating this vendor for the extra work. Okay. So if we're good with that, I'll go ahead and save this and show you what this would look like as a request. The request is very similar to the approved. The difference is probably the signatures at the bottom and whatnot. But this is a change request, floor and tile upgrade. And of course, here's how it's going to change and update my contract. Okay. All right. So that is change orders. But one thing I want to touch on here real quick is, and I know it took a long time to get through that estimate, but we have an estimate. We have that estimate flows through commitments for your purchase orders and subcontracts and budgets. Then, of course, it's got all the accounting features. I noticed we had possibly a CPA on the line today. So we've also got a full accounting suite. And then, of course, since it's an accounting package, I can do progress bill. You know, that's the AIA style progressive billing in the system, as well as T&M. It's got payroll. It's got equipment module. It's even got a mobile system for tracking your actually dispatching your employees to the project and then tracking their time back into the payroll. So if I were to type in that restaurant job, you remember I just built the restaurant project. Now I've got the restaurant project, and here's my actual self-performed labor and all those hours. I could now come over and I can say, you know what, we're going to actually, not this week because this week's almost over, but we're going to go ahead and get out there and we're going to start doing some wall framing. I'm going to give that to Philip, and I'm going to drag that over for, have him out there till Wednesday. Okay, so now what you're going to see is now we're looking at this through Wednesday. If I go to next week, now you're seeing Philip is assigned to that for next week. Then when Philip opens up his smart device, I could have a handheld iPhone, tablet, whatever. There's a app you can download. Now Philip can actually log into this and he can start his work. I'm actually clocked into this because it's green. But let's say I wanted to go ahead and take a break. I could come in, take my break, and then that's going to track all of my hours that I can submit at the end of the week, and it flows right through payroll, keeping down that dual entry. This also has the ability for daily field reports, change orders in the field, purchase orders on the go, RFPs. I can also put attachments on here with plans, specs, job photos, whatever you want. And I know I've gone just a little bit over. Go
No
ahead, Courtney.
worries, Philip. Hi. Yeah, that was great. I wanted to come on so that before, as we're running out of time here, just because we had a great question from the audience, I want to make sure we get to cover. Before we wrap today, too, if we're going to answer that question, if you've got another question out there, now's the time to get it in. But that was a great to see the software in action. And there was a great question from the audience I'd love for you to answer, Philip. And they
Sure.
said, we use Sage 100 and we've used it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we want to switch to Sage 100 Contractor? So can you speak to sort of those differences?
So Sage 100, the older name it used to go under from Sage was Mass 90, I believe. And it's a great product. We've got at SWK, we've got thousands and thousands of companies that use it. The difference is most of those companies aren't construction companies. They may have a little job costing. They may, need to break some projects down and cost them that way, but they don't have, they may not have project management needs. And so that's where the 100 Contractor, it's built for a construction company. It has estimating, it has change order tracking, it has mobile field tracking. It has, WIP reports, AIA, the whole 9 yards that contractors typically deal with. Most of those other Sage 100 customers that we have, they don't have a need for that. They're not doing job cost construction.
Got it. Great. I'm so glad I'm sure that's a big question on a lot of people's mind. We've got Sage 100, Sage 100 Contractors. So great to know those reasons why someone would consider that switch. And I think that was a really great question from the audience. So thank you to the person who asked that. And with that, I think we're at time. So thank you so much for showing us a sneak peek of that solution today. We're going to launch a quick poll. It's going to take just a few seconds, but before you leave, we'd love to hear from you. So based on what you've seen of Sage 100 Contractor today, what's your ideal next step? So we're here to help you find, the things that'll make it smarter, easier, safer to run your business. So we want to help you, whether that be, with a personalized demo of Sage 100 Contractor. There's a lot more. I know Philip wanted to show today, but we were short on time.
I'm long-winded.
Right. We can send you some more resources. We can get back in contact with you closer to the end of the year if this is a busy time for you. Whatever it may be, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And we really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to be with us on this session. We hope you found it informative. You can always reach us at info@swktech.com. Check out the website. We have resources on Sage 100 Contractor if you want to explore more. So thank you all. And thank you, Philip.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.